Welcome back! In a previous video, we looked at some of the theories behind YouTuber QUIX4U's QUIX4U surround sound system. In this follow-up video, I want to take a gentle step back, further address some key points from the last video, and finish with how I think his system works. In my previous video, I had a lengthy section where I was confused over his claim that only 57.7% of a stereo track contains actual content. After some research, I think I know where he's getting that number. I believe he's once again applying three-phase AC transmission logic to two-channel audio. 57.7% is 1 over the square root of 3, which is also the tangent of 30 degrees. That number comes from the geometric relationship between line-to-line and line-to-neutral quantities in a three-phase system. If he is doing something like taking vectors and projecting them onto axes separated by 120 degrees, then he's once again trying to force three-phase or three-vector geometry into a two-channel problem. Quite simply, that isn't a property of stereo. As I discussed in my previous video, you aren't inherently losing 42.3% of the information between two speakers, regardless of what's being played or what the relative phase happens to be. I believe the confusion comes from seeing words like sine and phase appear in both alternating current engineering and quadraphonic literature. The terminology overlaps, but that doesn't mean the underlying systems work the same way. Next, I want to go over how I believe his system actually works. I've gone through his analog audio Why It's Best post on his WordPress site and tried to pick through as much of it as I can. It's a lengthy and meandering post, and unfortunately, a lot of it is difficult to interpret, but I've tried to extract what I believe he's actually describing. So, what exactly is QUIX4U's system? Honestly, I'm still not entirely sure, and that's not for lack of trying. I've gone through his descriptions of the system, including his claims about a passive analog demultiplexer or decoupling network, three-phase distribution, 90 and 120 degree phase relationships, and his vertical speaker arrays. There does appear to be a basic concept underneath all of this. Take a conventional two-channel signal, pass it through some kind of passive matrix or transformer network, and distribute multiple derived signals among independently driven sections of a vertically arranged speaker array. The extreme portions of the array apparently carry the original or heavily derived left and right information, while intermediate sections may carry summed, difference, or phase-derived signals. The two arrays are mirrored, and he describes a summed signal being used to produce a central, virtual channel. Beyond that, however, the actual signal path remains unclear. He repeatedly uses terms such as three-phase, 90 degrees, 120 degrees, antiphase, harmonics, power, and 57.7%, but does not provide the equations or a complete schematic necessary to connect those concepts into a reproducible system. At the end of the day, resistors, capacitors, inductors, transformers, and simple wiring can perform very real forms of analog signal processing, including summing, subtraction, filtering, phase shifting, and impedance transformation. However, performing those operations does not unlock some higher plane of musical dimensionality. Whatever signals these circuits produce are necessarily derived from the original left and right channels and the relationships between them. They may be transformed, separated, filtered, or redistributed, but they cannot become something that wasn't contained in those inputs to begin with. Remember, even a matrixed quadraphonic recording is just a conventional stereo track, with certain elements deliberately mixed into the two channels so that a decoding matrix can pick them out. Between the misapplied terminology and the incoherent explanations, I don't see evidence of anything fundamentally new here. There may be an unusual passive matrix or speaker arrangement underneath it all, but extraordinary claims require enough technical information for someone else to reproduce and analyze them. Given his steadfast belief that everyone else has somehow failed to discover this supposed higher dimension of audio, I don't foresee a proper set of diagrams, equations, or schematics being released. He appears to believe he reinvented the wheel while the rest of us simply haven't realized we're looking at one. I want to end this video by making something clear. This isn't intended to be a smear piece against the man. I genuinely want to research and document surround sound systems for future posterity. But if we're going to honestly catalog these systems, we have to distinguish between what can be established as fact, what is an interpretation of the available information, and what is simply the designer's personal belief. Thanks for watching.